So here's the thing, I'm a spender, not a saver. For most of my life, I spent my money either as soon as I got it or even before I got it, and not in that good planning kind of way. On a good day, if I felt like stretching it, I would do some mental math, which I'm terrible at, by the way, just to make sure I could cover the credit card payment when it came due. I thought that if I just made a little more money, then I would make it rain and all my problems would be solved. And if you want to know the truth, I loved lying to myself about my money. I truly believe that the reason I had debt was because I didn't have enough money, that I was still renting because I lived in an expensive city, and that I could really afford to treat myself to those shoes because I would just pay off my credit card someday. And one day I decided that I just didn't want to live like that anymore, and I decided that I wanted to take control. So what did I do? Well, I did what pretty much anyone else would do in my situation. I Googled it. And when I looked up the secret to getting good at money, I started to find that these secrets that everyone was talking about weren't really secrets after all. And spoiler alert, they all have to do with embracing the idea of budgeting, learning to budget, and learning to like your budget. So today I wanted to talk to you about the secrets to getting good at money that aren't really secrets at all. First secret that is not a secret is to look at your finances. You have to know where you are before you know where you're going. When I first committed to getting out of debt, I was absolutely terrified to even look at my bank account, let alone crunch the numbers. And forget about creating a habit, like that was just completely out of reach for me just because it seemed impossible. The truth is, when you start looking at your finances and looking at them objectively without any judgment, and I mean, you might have some judgment for yourself. You might feel like straight up about yourself. But as soon as you lean into your fear of your finances instead of running away from them all the time, that's when you can start tackling anything that you're trying to change and start getting better at it. And this was the first step of building my budget. And you guys know that I have been using the Dave Ramsey Every Dollar app up until now. But I wanted to share a new method with you that I've been trying out. And a lot of you guys have requested alternatives to the Every Dollar app for various reasons. And I'm super excited that I found a really great alternative, and they are the sponsor of today's video. You need a budget. So for the month of May, I've been giving YNAB a try, and I gotta say, compared to the Every Dollar app, it is kind of a learning curve. There's some things that I'm definitely not used to. So Every Dollar and YNAB both take a zero-based budgeting approach, but YNAB for me really breaks it down into 4 easy to follow and I think more flexible and sustainable rules so that you can actually start a budget and stick to it, and more importantly, start to like it. So if you were looking for an alternative to the Every Dollar app, whether it be the free version or Ramsey Plus, I think you'll really like the features that YNAB offers. My favorite features that I've been playing around with so far, especially as I move on to my baby step 3, which is saving that 3 to 6 month emergency fund, is that they have a really straightforward savings and goals feature. It'll show you how much you need to save per month, your progress, and how long it's gonna take you to get there. Which for me, seeing your progress is one of the best things about budgeting, and either seeing your debt come down or your savings grow. So I'm excited to learn this new habit and sort of adopt this new money mindset and add it to my arsenal, because there's always something to be learned about money especially, and there never is just one way of doing things. So if you wanted to try YNAB yourself for 34 days, absolutely free, there's no credit cards and no questions asked, then you can click the link in the description down below and let me know how you like it. Secret number 2 that's not a secret is to spend less than you make. And really the only way you're gonna know this is if you build a budget. Sticking to it might be another story, and that's something that you learn over time, but you have to know where you're spending your money and give that money some intention and a job to do. If all you're really used to doing is just checking your checking account and going from there, then you really still don't know how much money you have, you don't know if you're covered for your other expenses, and you simply don't have as much control as you would than if you gave that dollar a job to do. For me personally, that one pot of money and just spend it as you like until it's all gone, that can work for some people, but for me, it absolutely doesn't. So I like to be able to allocate funds into specific categories and stick to my spending in those categories. And that way it really just helps me spend less than I make and not rely on living paycheck to paycheck or even relying on credit cards to get by. And secret number 3 to getting good with money that's not a secret is give every dollar a job. In my experience, this is something that both YNAB and Every Dollar and the Dave Ramsey method embrace, but they do it a little bit differently. But instead of giving your entire month's worth of money ahead of time, you only give the money a job that you have, and then you do it again when the money comes in with YNAB, which I think is actually a really great habit to build because it forces you to revisit your budget and then get into that habit even more. I think a lot of the barriers when it comes to budgeting is a lot of people will write their first budget and pretty much stop there, when really a budget is not only your plan and your monthly calendar, but it's also a spending tracker. So if you really look at it as something that you need to revisit and check even daily, then it's a habit that you will build for yourself and that you're going to really start to enjoy, especially as you get to know your spending habits, get to know where you spend your money and where you don't. And it really just starts to build this confidence over time that maybe you didn't know was there before. Secret number 4 that was kind of a secret to me is embracing your true expenses will set you free. When I first started my debt-free journey, I was definitely like a crash dieter. I was as stoic as I could possibly be. I'm definitely the type of person that goes from one extreme to another, and it takes me a little while to find that middle balance. So for a long time, I was gazelle intense in the Dave Ramsey plan, and truth be told, it made me feel pretty shitty about a lot of my spending choices because I'd always have him kind of yelling at me in the back of my head, maybe calling out bullshit or not, but that shame spiral would definitely set in if I overspent in a certain category. It wasn't until I started to embrace a more intentional spending mindset and really sort of break down what was important to me when it came to how I spent my money and my finances and my own sort of tolerance when it came to what I wanted to put myself through in order to reach my goals. That really changed the game for me. So the things that matter to you, that you truly spend money on, that you know you're going to spend money on every single month, straight up go for it. It is important to get out of debt as fast as you can. That is one of the things that will help you build wealth in the long run. I fully believe that. But if you're taking a crash diet approach, I don't think it's going to be sustainable, and straight up it's just going to be a experience overall. I had to learn to accept that I was going to buy a coffee and a croissant once in a while, and that was okay. And secret number 5 that I had to learn wasn't really a secret after all is to roll with the punches. When it comes to building a budget, sticking to it, and liking it, you gotta roll with the punches. And the thing is, especially if you've been budgeting for the very first time and you wanna start getting good with money for the very first time, whatever it is that you enter for that month is probably not gonna be right. And that's okay. And the thing I think a lot of people forget about budgeting is that not only is it your plan, but it's also your spending tracker. And we can't plan for everything, but we can balance our budget to 0 every single month. So if you overshot in one category and overspent there, it's okay to take from another category and balance your budget back to 0. But when you roll with the punches, you give yourself the permission to be flexible. It really lets go of that guilt and shame and failure feeling that I think a lot of us might be prone to feeling, especially on this journey. And secret number 6, that's not a secret, is that if you don't change your behavior, you're not gonna change your money. When I decided to get out of debt, even deciding to do that demanded a behavior shift. It really demanded me finding enough bravery, self-respect, and confidence in myself that I could do this and I was going to do this. And I really had to admit to myself that what I was doing wasn't working. But just like any other habit, it takes time to build, and it eventually becomes second nature. And things that you convinced yourself that you couldn't go without and that you'd never not spend money on, you suddenly realize that maybe you don't need, or you realize that that money could be better put elsewhere. The key here is recognizing what behaviors you want to change, taking responsibility for them, and doing what you need to do to move forward. And not only is that gonna change your behavior, but it's gonna change your mindset, your value system, and your respect for yourself. So here's the thing, no matter how you swing it, you need a plan for your money and you need to be intentional with it. However you decide to do that is really up to you. And now I've tried 2 different ways of budgeting and 2 different approaches when it comes to my financial journey. They don't call it personal finance for no reason. It's because it's personal. So whatever works for you, you have to experiment, you have to try things out, but let go of your fear and make your money yours. Thanks so much to YNAB for sponsoring this video. And if you wanted to try it yourself for 34 days, no questions asked, absolutely free, then you can click the link in the description down below. So let me know, what's your secret to getting good at money? And how did it change your life?